Hmm. God, my hair just won't sit. Hello, everybody. Everyone's doing well today. Pulled that right out of my ass, I know. Said the stream through a little bit will be completely at random with no warning whatsoever. I like it that way anyway. At the moment, anyway. Cool. So, no one's here, but if anyone's watching the VOD, we are going to do our top 50 of all time and update it. Hello, Hexa. We're going to do our top 50 of all time. We're going to update it. I'm going to try to do this every year. I said I would, and we're about that time again. We did it in May last year, but I'm going to do a little bit. Surprise, motherfucker. You're dreaming, Hexa. You're dreaming. You're dreaming, dude. Wake up. Wake up! How you doing, bro? Hope you're doing well today. Not again. Not again! Tease to the edge. I'll turn it up a bit more, the music. My first shift, my new job today was good. I didn't see that. You enjoying it? 13's sweeping the list. Jesus, dude. Fuck that game. How you doing, John? How was your shift, fam? Was it good? Oh, no, it was a good day. There you go. Okay. Alright, we're just going to jump right into it because this is probably going to take a while. We're just going to do something again. So I'll just quickly say if anyone is watching the VOD or anything like that, I'm going to say this very quickly. This is what I think is my top 50. It's got nothing to do with anyone else at all. And I mean that completely and utterly. So don't take it any other way. I will say, like, what is the greatest game of all time? In my opinion, the greatest game of all time, for me personally, is Final Fantasy 15. But the best game that's ever released, like, ever, as in, like, if someone asked me what is the greatest game that's ever been made, and, like, my own opinion didn't come into it, it would be Persona 5. I think Persona 5 is the greatest game of all time by a country mile. But 15 is my favorite of all time. Was just an event day today, so I had relaxing more natural work, met lots of new people, and had a great time. Nice. Asked my supervisor what to put my hours as, because I started half an hour early, and she was like, start yourself from when you left your house. Did you kiss them? Oh, I love a boss like that. What a champion. I'm back home finally, just cleaning up a good repeat flat Star Wars Clone Wars and hopping into shit one after that. Hello Neighbor PS5 version. I heard that wasn't very good. The Hello Neighbor. I saw that stuck the other day. You enjoying Clone Wars again, though? Howdy, Hexa. I did not. She's married. I am taking. I know, I'm just joking. It's good to have a good boss, though, every once in a while. Persona 5. So, it's base game 15 as well, if anyone wants to ask that. Royal is a different game. Completely different, in my opinion, as well. So, it doesn't get in there. And then Persona 5 is exactly the same. It's second on the list. And it's there. Wait, can I move these? I can. Beautiful. Persona 5 is base game as well. So I'm actually going to have a fight for the top 10 anyway, because I've got like 15 games that can be top 10. 5 cards for Anus I couldn't reach. I respect it. I'm going to pull up the 2 photos. So that tracks. It was great. A pretty good game, apparently, that one. Yeah, so I've got a few games. I've actually played a few games in the past year that could actually make the top 10, funny enough. So it's going to be tricky. To do this, I think. In terms of recently played, Hollow Knight would make a top 100 for me. Sure, I don't know about top 50 though. I'm not gonna lie, it probably wouldn't make my top 100 as of yet. Yeah, Like a Dragon's probably gonna hit my top 50. I'd say Hollow Knight was maybe like a 7 or an 8 out of 10 for me personally. But I haven't 100%ed it yet, so that may change. I tried to get more into the lore and I watched a few videos and stuff. Still can't really get into it though, I don't think. Is it big enough on screen, by the way, guys? Okay, I think we might do this instead. So you guys can see what's going on. What I'll do is I'll move myself over here. I don't like being on this side, but it is what it is. Right, we'll do that instead so you guys can see what's going on. I can't make it any smaller than this, like any bigger than this though, which is extremely infuriating. This website is quite frustrating for the view. There we go, that's a bit better. I think, not really. I wonder if we can... Yeah, it's not going to make it any bigger than it is. Bugger. Hopefully, guys, you can kind of make out what's going on with it all. What I might do, actually, hang on. Sorry, I'm just trying to make it like look a little bit better. What I'll do... That's not the right one. What I'll do... Yeah, we'll do that. Ugh. There we go. We'll do that. I know I'm covering this like corner over here, but it's not like the end of the world, really, is it? Probably could go the other side now because this is probably more important. But anyway, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? So I've been thinking about this one for a while. I think Shadow of Mordor has to get in there, right? I think so. Anyway, I don't think how it couldn't. I've played like 400 hours of it now. You know what sucks? I think last time I have to have finished the game to be able to be in here, but I'm actually going to put games in here I think I haven't finished yet. Not going to lie. But I think we're going to put Shadow of Mordor at third. I think. Yeah, I think we will. It's close, though. These top three tend to stick around quite a lot. I'm not going to lie. But I go Shadow of Mordor third. And then I have Ni no Kuni 2 generally at my fourth. And Assassin's Creed 2 are usually my top 5. Those are what I usually go, so I'll just put them in for now. Hang on. Let's just put them in for now. Ooh. No? It didn't like that. I thought maybe it's been misspelt in the system. There it is. I don't know what it's spelt like in this. Just because it's not a capital A. I know. Don't know why I didn't like that. Maybe the apostrophe. So these are usually my top 5 of all time. 15, obviously, I would say hands down probably changed the way I play games forever. Persona 5 is amazing. I've beaten it 3 times now, and I think I've cried at the ending every time. And I tend to get really obsessed with it when I play them, and I play them non-stop. Like, last time I beat it in 10 days, and I played 10 hours every single day to beat the game. Shadow of Mordor, I think I've played 500 hours of Shadow of Mordor, and it's a 20-hour game. And I can speedrun the game. I think last time we did the platinum, like 11 hours, and the game's like a 25 to 30-hour platinum. Ni no Kuni 2, I've beaten twice. That plat was a nightmare, but it was really, really good. So I think it'll stay. Might be 3 times Ni no Kuni 2, by the way. And Assassin's Creed 2 is just a fucking banger, to be honest with you. So I think it just sits there and looks pretty. The other game is a hot take. Well, there's actually already 2 hot takes in this. 3, actually. It's Kingdom Hearts 3. I love this game so much. I don't know whether it'll stay top 10. Sadly, I had a really, really bad experience with it last year when we played it on the hardest difficulty. There was a patch, I think a year or 2 ago, where they buffed the difficulty, and it was fucking crazy. I was like, probably one of the hardest things I've done for a while. Kingdom Hearts 3 is a bitches. People, yeah, it's such a good game. I think it's growing on people, though, as well, over the years. Like, it seems to have grown on some people. Okay, let's have a look. So, there's a few that could push in. And this is one that's sort of come in recently. But Metaphor ReFantazio is easily one of the best games I've ever played of all time. And it lives rent-free in my fucking head. And I think it's gonna sit in the top 10, but it's gonna be 50-50. I think it's a great game now. What Wukong downloaded finally. Dude, Wukong's 180 gigabyte, by the way. It's fucking huge, dude. It's massive for like no reason whatsoever. So the next one, obviously Jak 2. No, I'm just joking. Fuck off. I still think Kingdom Hearts 2 for more gameplay, but Hem's Emotional Playoffs, PM3 blows the fuck out of the water. It's just a great game. It's such a silky motherfucking game, dude. It's just such a silky ass game. It feels great. It looks great. It's just got it's a good way to end all the stories and stuff, and the way that everything was told in the game. It's such a good game. It's so underrated. And I've told people who didn't like it the first time to go back and play it. And people have changed their mind on it, which has been good. Or top 10. I hate Jak 2, dude. I'm sorry. I couldn't stand Jak 2. I love Jak and Daxter, like the first one, but the second one's a no from me. I couldn't do it. I liked 3 as well. Oh. Another one, which was a surprise, well, not really, is Astrobot. And I beat this game today, actually. I platinumed this game today. And I'm not even going to lie, I probably should let it sit for a little bit, and that's why I'm a bit skeptical on it. But Ghost of Yotai is fucking incredible. Like, is amazing. Like, yeah. It's better than Ghost of Tsushima, which is a crazy thing to say, and people will probably murder me for it, but I think Yotai is incredible. It's probably, yeah. It's the 3rd best game I've played on PS5 in this generation, I think. I think the best is Astrobot, and then the first is Astrobot, and second's Metaphor, then Ghost of Yotai. Fucking banger. Dude, it's such a good game. I'm excited to play it again. I'm keen to see what they do for the PS6. What else did we play in the last year that I need to look at real quick? Yeah. I think You Choose Like a Dragon's probably in there. Like, not top 10. I'm just throwing a few games in real quick to see what would be around that top 25. I think You Choose Like a Dragon would nearly get in there. Sword of the Sea is amazing. Honestly, incredible game. Dispatch wouldn't make it. It's a good game, though. It might make top 50. The Crab's Treasure wasn't that good. Mellow. Yeah. Yeah. I would put Armello in the top 50. So I'm going to put it down in the corner right now. I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't know, you guys can't see it. Where is Wolf Among Us? I actually haven't played Wolf Among Us. Funny enough. Hey, Red. How you doing, fam? I actually need to do John Shatter and then Reds. I don't like Telltale games. I've only... I think I've beaten 2 Telltale games. No, just 1. Which is basically just Dispatch, and it's not really even a Telltale game, but it's called a Telltale game. Review American Arcadia. No, it doesn't like American Arcadia. Let me see if it's like... There we go. Fair enough. Made my top 75. Dispatch Telltale and essentially play Wolf Among Us. Ad Hoc is just a Telltale without shitty management. I'll wait for the next Wolf Among Us to come out and then I'll probably play the first one. Is what I'll do. Most likely. If that ever comes out. It's been a while. It's been a while since it's been announced, yeah. It's been up there for a while. I'll probably go Planet Coaster. Don't know if that'll ever happen at this rate, sadly. Hope so. We'll go Planet Coaster. Helldivers 2 was pretty good, but... I don't know if that'll make the top 25. Lord of the Rings Lego probably will, because that's a great fucking game, dude. 10 out of 10. Nier Automata. Does not like... Rumor has it Wolf Among Us 1 is being remade. Wolf Among Us 2 is being developed by a bunch of Argentinians now. Witcher 3? I have not played... I've played The Witcher 3, but I haven't played enough of it to put it into my top 50. But I didn't enjoy it, to be honest with you. Pedro, you're killing me. I'm seeing why you don't like me now. Orc massage? You don't like me now? What do you mean? The Witcher 3 is just such an overdone game, like, at this point. I tend to play it when no one's looking. I'm going to be massacred for not putting Sekiro in my top 50, I reckon. People are going to lose their shit over that. We got God of War 3. That's just a great fucking game. Do you put any horror into your top 50? No. There won't be any horror. I'm trying to think. Trying to think. Probably the only game I played in the past year that would be considered horror is The Quarry. And that was a good game, but that wouldn't make my top 50, but it is a good game. Maybe Bioshock, if you would consider it horror, a lot of people don't, may make top 50. But I like Bioshock Infinite the best, so... God of War 3 in my top 75, fucking banger of a game. Dude, the God of War series is so slept on. If they fuck up that remake series, I'm going to lose my shit. And I mean slept on because, like, just there's so many people that I know that just haven't played them at all, which is really disappointing because they're incredible games. Go Live Alive, or Live Alive, as people like to point out, and they get upset with me when I pronounce it wrong. From alright, make sure top. I'd hope a AAA game makes your top 75. The fuck. Go Lord of the Rings Conquest. And then you have my top 25 and then we'll sort it. I'm fucking just trying to think like what I could actually put in here that like... Oh, that would hold. But I'm just looking over my last like year if anything's really pushed the boundaries a bit. I think Shiv 2 probably pushed its way in. And I nearly put Fall Guys in there. Fall Guys is a great fucking game, dude. What a great game, eh? That's just honestly top tier. I think Shiv 2 would maybe make the top 25 though. Split Fiction's good, but I haven't beaten it yet. Psychonauts 2 is actually like... I don't know if anyone's played Psychonauts. Psychonauts 2 is like one of the like smoothest fucking games I've ever played in my entire life. I'm actually massacring. No. What am I doing wrong? Oh yeah, I missed a H. No. Fucking hell, dude. There we go. Psychonauts 2 is amazing. SMD? What's SMD? What's your favorite game of all time, Red? I do have Witcher 3 though. It is on the backlog. I bought it physically the other week, sorry. We go Bioshock Infinite. That game's fucking great, and that game is so shat on now by people. It's infuriating. It's because people just want the first game to get more love, and the second game for that matter. Anyone who likes, anyone who likes Bioshock 2 tends to shit on Bioshock Infinite. That one Orch burning down Psychonauts 1 and then screams the children live in that one. Ladies suck forever. Ugh. It's such a fucked up... oh, suck my dick. I thought you put suck my dick. Oh, sorry. I say smo. Suck me off. But yeah, Bioshock Infinite is really shat on. Psychonauts is great. Psychonauts is so fucked up and so hilarious. Like, it's probably one of the funniest games I've ever played, actually. It would definitely be up there. I think the only thing that probably funnier than Psychonauts 2 that I played is maybe Dispatch. Dispatch is pretty comedic. So it's like a dragon, though, to be fair. On my list too. None of those show up on my PSMP. It sucks because like I grew up, I had a Wii when I was younger instead of a PlayStation 3 for like 4 years when my family was struggling, but we just like had no money, and my dad's never really been into Mario too much. So we never had like any of the Mario games, and they were really hard to find. So I never really got to play a lot of Nintendo games like Mario or Zelda or like anything like that at all. Except for Mario Olympics, Mario and Sonic at the Olympics games goes so fucking hard, it's not even funny. But yeah, we were never really in Nintendo. We played a lot of PlayStation and Xbox. But I haven't played enough of any Xbox like Halo and stuff like that. I probably played like 100 hours of Halo, but I haven't played them enough to probably say I should put it into my top 100. 64 and NES mainly. I think my dad said my mum, when they were going through a rough patch, sold his N64 on him and all his games. So I never got to play any of them, sadly. I had a PS1 and a PS2 though. Favorite is Wolf Among Us, but more objective take is Witcher 3 is greatest game I've ever played. I feel that. I respect that. I'm the same. Final Fantasy 15 is my favorite game of all time. But Persona 5 is the best game ever made, in my opinion. Every handheld. Handheld's always good, hey, with the PSP and that. And the DS. However, Paladins is probably my favorite multiplayer game since it was the first game that's peaked into highest rank. Ooh, nice. Dude, Paladins was good, and it's PK. I actually would go... This is a bit of a random one, but I don't know if anyone ever played it, but the Simpsons game. I owned every version of this game. And it was amazing. Has 20. Just trying to think if I missed anything. I would put... Baldur's Gate 3 might nearly get in there if I'd played enough of it, which I haven't still. I'm going to put Rebirth in here. No trophies for it. Actually shattered me. Yeah, it shatters me that there's no... There's achievements for it too on Xbox for the Simpsons game, which shits me up the wall even more. If you, by chance, if anyone has the 360 copy of the Simpsons game, just let everybody know it is worth a fair bit of money. And if you don't want it, it's like... we've got 3 copies and they're like over $100 here each. Shit, I just had an idea and I've lost it. I have it. Yeah, it's worth a fair bit. Do you have the DS version of the game actually different from the console versions? Yeah, I had the DS version for a few years. That's what I mainly played. And then I bought the PSP version. And then I played the 360 and I have the PS3 as well. 2,000 USD and it's yours. Fuck, I'm trying to think. I just had a game in my mind and I've lost it. Oh, yes. So, I haven't finished this game, but this game is... I can't ignore... And that's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's probably one of the best games I've played on PlayStation 5 by a mile. I think it feels amazing, and I want to play it on the Pro, because I heard it's amazing on the Pro, and it's like eating me alive that I haven't played it on the Pro yet. But I would then go Naruto Ninja Storm. There's another one that I played a shitload of. and I go back to it every few years. I'd probably put Ghost of Tsushima in there. Hey, Zek! How was your VR stream, fam? You look like you were having fun. Just on my top 50 of all time right now. Trying to like be a bit out there with it, but it's struggling a bit right now. It's hard to remember all the games you've played. I swear to God. Where's Overwatch, by the way? It's going in there. It's going in there. I've played over 1,000 hours of Overwatch. It will be going in there. There'll be 2 games added in the last 25 that I don't think many people are going to expect. My America Cleric is strong. Family game night as well. Charging controls. Nice. That's sick. Yeah, the last 2. I'm trying to find one more game, and the last 2 games to be added to the 25 are a bit gross. I'm deciding whether I put FF10 in here, and honestly, as the years gone on, I hate to say this, I don't think 10 is as good as people say. For me personally. Holy hand grenades and big bonks for real. And then straight out of left field, throw Smite up there. Smite's fun. Afro Mains Unite. I haven't played, did you play Smite 2? Apparently that was good and bad at the same time. That had a bad reception. It's tough. I don't know how I'm going to do this. You did not? Apparently it's pretty good. Alright, I'm going to put the 2 games in now that are a bit questionable. So Overwatch. I played a disgusting amount of this game, and it was actually what I started streaming on when I started. The next game is FIFA 20. Is my favorite FIFA of all time. And when it released, I played... I think I played like something stupid like 400 hours in 2 months. I played every day, 10 hours a night, and slept 2 hours and went to work every day. I was off my head for 2 months. I literally had to like uninstall it to like not play it anymore. Probably one of the only games like it fucked me up because I played way too much of it, and it was, yeah, probably one of my favorite times in gaming. Topic of Overwatch, I have more hours on Mercy Watch than most people have paychecks. Lol. No joke. Once ran into Afro with well over 100 Whisper stars. I've been seeing anyone so dedicated to any character since then. Ooh. Interesting. No, it's a sad song. I was like, I can't remember if that was a sad song or not. Let's be real, my entire music library is sad. But really sad shit. I think it's still active. Don't put Fall Guys in. We'll put Fall Guys in here as well. It's pretty fire. We played so many hours of it. Ghost of Tsushima. And then Persona 3 Reload. And on radio, okay. Kingdom Hearts 2, I'd put in there. I don't like Kingdom Hearts 1 as much. It's a great game, but it's so fucking crap at the same time. Shit. Black Ops 3. I've got 3. I think I've got 2 or 3,000 hours in Black Ops 3. Something stupid like that. The counter didn't even count half my hours. But I got Dark Matter. I got Dark Matter 8 times on that game. I played so much of it, it was disgusting. I was still terrible at it as well by the end of it. I would go Jurassic World Evolution, another one. That's a bit random. Still don't have the plat for Black Ops 3 either. Is it wanna? Okay, yeah. It really doesn't like, really doesn't like you spelling it wrong, like, or even like it. Not wrong, but it just doesn't like anything. Xenoverse. I played a fuckload of Xenoverse. Xenoverse is one of like, I'm actually like watching Dragon Ball right now, going back through H1Z1. Can fuck off, bro. I would put Apex would be something I would put in. I love Apex. I haven't played Apex in a long time though. They don't have the. Do they not have the original logo? It doesn't look like it. I love how they've got like all of the versions. I think this is probably the most I played in Season 4. So we'll put it in there. I've played that much of Apex, it's not funny. It doesn't count your hours on PlayStation either from the PS4 version. But I played a disgusting amount of it. I don't even know how many hours I've played. Xenoverse makes top 100, maybe top 75 me. Xenoverse is a great game. But fuck the RNG. I haven't platinumed that either. Dumbest RNG probably I've ever experienced in gaming. It's up there. I think Near Replicant is probably easier in RNG terms. I haven't done Xenoverse 2 yet, but it is on the backlog to do. And yeah, I'm going to do the PS5 stack of that. Put in Hyperscape. I don't even know what that is. Sorry, man. Don't murder me. Trying to think of any Nintendo games I would put in here. Mario Kart on the DS is pretty fucking insane. That was a great game. I don't know if anyone played that on the DS or not. But that was really good. Dude, I thought you were 25. I'm 20... I'm 25. Need trophies to me. I'm going to 1. I know this, dude. They're just. I'm on that mission. You'll know the one. It's one of the not the super ultimate, but the ultimate abilities, and you need to like do it in a certain amount of time frame and kill enemies in certain order, and then pray it drops. It's on that shitty ass one. That's what I'm currently stuck on. You're way more fetus-like than me, I'm afraid. I played a lot of like OG games. I don't like them as much. There's a lot of OG games I do tend to like though. But it's like touchy. I don't know if I'd put FF10 in like dude, as time's gone on, I don't know if I like Final Fantasy X as much anymore. I'll put Destiny 2 in there as well. That's a great game. I've played a stupid amount of Destiny 2. They got the original logo. They do. Beautiful. I need to get a copy of this too. I still don't have a copy of it yet. I would nearly put Breath of the Wild in there. That was a pretty bloody good game. But like, it wasn't a great game. Hey Darkrai, how's it going? I remember one thing was RNG to get spawned for an annoying boss and then kill it, and then it's RNG with the kill drops. Yeah, and there was one. It was a mission where you need to do it in a certain time limit in the first area and kill the enemies in a certain order. Get into the second bit and defeat a boss, but you need to let the boss do enough dialogue and then kill him with a certain ability in a certain time limit. And then it would be whether it would drop or not, and it just sucked. What the fuck? He has returned. How you doing, Darkrai? Hope you're doing well, dude. I have returned. Not completely. It's such a good game, though. I actually played a shitload of the PvP in Xenoverse. That was actually where I played a lot of my game. I played a lot of the story, but I played a lot. Any Bethesda. I don't like Bethesda games. Funny enough, Red. Yeah, we gotta put Fallout 76 in there. The best Fallout of all time, actually. Hang on a second. Hang on. No, I'm just joking. We won't put it in there. Doing good, just EP? Nice. I'd nearly put Injustice 2 in there. That's a great fighting game. Your PMO so fucking bad, not gonna lie. Dude, Bethesda games are so boring, dude. I don't know what to tell you, man. They're so fucking boring. I can't stand them. I've played, like, a shitload of them. Just don't like them. I don't like... Yeah, I don't like a lot. I don't think I like any Bethesda games. Hang on. Let me have a look. There might be one or two. Thank you for the 12 months, fam. I appreciate it. Appreciate you. How you doing, dude? Flat 76 best game. For real, for real. Version of Brazilian numbers, too. I was watching you play it, actually, Darkrai. You enjoying it? It's a good game. Don't go for the 100%. Fuck it off. How do I unsub? I'm about to bash my head through a drywall. I'm trying to think. Hang on. Let me have a look if I can find something that's actually good from Bethesda. I think... Is Dishonored made by Bethesda? I don't know if I'd say Doom the Dark Age is made by Bethesda, to be fair. I'm going to be honest right now. Do we give credit to them for, like, owning other companies that made Doom and shit? Fallout 3 New Vegas, fuck, even put Starfield up there? I don't know. No, I don't like Starfield either. I don't like Fallout 3 or New Vegas. I tried both of them. Arcane, published by Bethesda. Good, just about to slip. Nice. I'm going through it right now. I haven't played Doom 2018, or played the old Dooms. And I haven't played any of the Dishonored, but I did buy them to play them. But I don't like any of these games. Yeah, I don't like any of the Elder Scrolls games. Don't like Fallout. Haven't played Doom. Haven't played Wolfenstein. Elder Scrolls, I don't like either. I played one of the OG ones on 360. I think it was like, is it Oblivion? Yeah, I don't like Oblivion either. Didn't like that. Deathloop I haven't played, but I've heard amazing things. I do want to do that. Ghostwire, I don't care for. Hi-Fi Rush apparently is incredible. Redfall, bro. Redfall. No, we're going to put Redfall in there, guys. Guys, we're going to put Redfall in there. Fuck, I forgot about Redfall, man. What a game. What a game. The Indiana Jones game, I love Indiana Jones, but the game doesn't interest me at all, sadly. I've seen the style of it, and I'm just like, I don't know. I think Doom would be the only one, maybe, I would play. I was asked, honestly. Oh, wait, just remembered. Let me play Fall Guys up there. Fall Guys is like, what do you mean? Evade means I got to disassociate with you. Fall Guys is a great game. I'll probably play Deathloop again, eventually. You on that NA sleep schedule? Yeah, we're raiding with Nanas. I'll actually, my time zone changes next week. We go, I think we go forward. Could be wrong. We go backwards, so. Nah, don't like anything from Bethesda. It's so funny because I am really like out of my like comfort zone in Rise Chat because all of Rise Chat loves Bethesda. I wouldn't play it, so I was asked, but it doesn't have anything on Doritos Crash Course. Only Doritos Crash Course. Bro, I remember coming home when I was 19, as COVID was beginning, and I'd buy a slab, which is 24 beers, or like 24, like, and a bottle of vodka, and I'd sit down on a Friday night after working a 50-hour week and putting on Fall Guys and drinking the entire slab, getting absolutely plastered playing Fall Guys, and it was great. 10 out of 10, would do again. Probably one of the best drinking games of all time. Better with the right people. I played solo. It's a game I can actually just enjoy by myself. Like, it doesn't worry me. It's good with people, though, for real. I need to win too much. Fall Guys is a no-go for me. See, that's the thing. I don't need to win in Fall Guys to enjoy it. I got the platinum for it. It was good. I like the plat, though. This isn't like a dedicated list, by the way. This is not... Anyone's not over anyone right now. I'm just trying to find games to actually put in here. I'm like being very, very, very careful what I'm putting in right now. I don't know if I put FF10 in here, man. I think it made 11 last year, and I don't know if it sits right with me still to this day. Put Journey in there. Journey's great. And then we'll put... Party Animals is amazing too. What a fucking game. I just wish that was crossplay, bro. Oh, I did my phone. Got off it. I respect it. I respect it. Go God of War 2. Because that is just a great game. Don't stop believing. Astro's Playroom, even though separate from Astrobot, it's just a great game because it was the first thing I played on the PS5 and it was incredible. I think I'd put FF16 in here as well. I think 7 Remake has not aged well with me. I've got problems with it. I don't like the pacing of the game, so I don't think it's going to push in there. I know they put Battlefield 4 in there because Battlefield's fucking great. Edith Finch is a really good game too. If I had to choose between a fighting game, it might be Injustice 2 nearly. That's a great game. Let's look at my plats from last year. Sekiro's not getting in there. I don't care. Shadow of War probably does need to be put in there as well. Let's put Shadow of War in. And I'll put FF10 in there as well. Oh, I finally caved and put it in. Oh, there is a Dragon Ball game, actually. Now I think about that, is my favorite Dragon Ball. It's Burst Limit. What a fucking game, actually. Fuck. I'm struggling. There's like a lot I can put in. It's just whether it's worthy of being in the top 50. I'm glad I'm not doing a top 100. We're going to be here for a while otherwise. I would put sports games. I'd put Top Spin 4. I don't know if anyone ever played any tennis games. Top Spin's fucking amazing. Great game. I'd put another FIFA in, but I shouldn't, really. Shit, I don't know. I would actually really put Rift Apart in there, but I need to play it again to know. I put 16 in, yeah, I did. Beautiful. We're gonna put, oh shit, we're gonna put Lord of the Rings Gollum in here, man. Fuck. What about that? What a game. What Helldivers 2 in there? That was honestly a great experience. I was trying not to, but it does deserve some respect. To be honest. It does deserve some respect. High on Life? I was thinking about it. I've been looking at it for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually thinking about putting Dispatch in there. That's what I would put over it right now. So I haven't decided yet. I'm trying not to like put any newer games in, like as in like I've played recently, because it's sometimes, you know, you think they're really good, and when they're like later on, you're not so sure. I really don't want to put Sekiro in there too. Quantum's Mines, exactly. All right, let's just start ordering them, and I'll think about it. I'll think about the rest. So anyway, 15's first, as I said. It's my personal favorite game of all time and best game of all time, in my opinion. But the greatest game ever made, like subjectively, like, is Persona 5. And it's pretty close between 15 and 5 to be Persona 5, to be honest. Shadow of Mordor was third. Ni no Kuni 2, Assassin's Creed 2, Kingdom Hearts 3, Metaphor, Astrobot, Yotai. So, is Ni no Kuni 2 better than Shadow of Mordor? It's pretty fucking close. I don't think so. It's close, though. It is close. Okay, no, I won't do it. Assassin's Creed 2 better than Ni no Kuni 2? No. Is Kingdom Hearts 3 better than Assassin's Creed 2? Yes, I think so. Is Metaphor better than Assassin's Creed 2? Yes. Is Astrobot better than Assassin's Creed 2? Yes. So I'll let that sit there. Is Kingdom Hearts 3 better than Ni no Kuni 2? No. Is Metaphor better than Kingdom Hearts 3? Yes, it is. It is. Fuck. That's a big call, though. Is Metaphor better than Ni no Kuni 2? Oh, it's so close. That's a hot take. A lot of people don't like Ni no Kuni 2, funny enough. My top 4 are like very much hated by a lot of people. Metaphor over Kingdom Hearts 3? Ah, yeah, true. I'm going to put Ni no Kuni 2 in 3rd place and Metaphor in 4th. And then Shadow Mortar on 5. I think Metaphor, it's close to being Ni no Kuni 2, but Ni no Kuni 2 is amazing. I've beaten both of them twice, so it's not like... And I've got the platinum for both games. I think if I look at it properly, Metaphor was a better platinum than Ni no Kuni 2, though. Appreciate and love Deserted Life. Gonna go to sleep. Good night. Good night, Hexer. Sleep well, brother. I appreciate you, dude. Love you, fam. I'm gonna let it sit. Man, I think Metaphor might be better than Ni no Kuni 2. Ni no Kuni 2's music. I think Metaphor's got better music than Ni no Kuni 2, but it's close. The art style's better in Ni no Kuni 2. The combat is better in Metaphor. The story is probably on par with each other. Shit. Probably see you in the morning. Have a great day, guys. Sleep well, fam. Sleep well. Alright, we'll move on. Kingdom Hearts 3 isn't better than Shadow of Mordor. It's close, though, but Shadow of Mordor is amazing. Is Astro better than Kingdom Hearts 3? Fuck. No. I don't think so. I don't think anything's going to beat Kingdom Hearts 3. Assassin's Creed 2 isn't better than Astrobot. Is Ghost of Yotai better than Assassin's Creed 2? No. It's fucking close, though. It's fucking close. Is Yakuza Like a Dragon better than Ghost of Yotai? No. No. I think Ghost of Yotai might be one of the best games released for a very, very long time. I really do mean that. Is Sword of the Sea better than Yakuza Like a Dragon? He just put a freaking album on, for God's sakes. No. It's close, though. Lord of the Rings Lego is not better than Sword of the Sea. Is Nier Automata better than Lord of the Rings? Yes. Is it better than Sword of the Sea? Yes. Is it better than Like a Dragon? Yes. Is God of War 3 better than Lord of the Rings Lego? No. No, I think Lord of the Rings Lego is pretty fucking good, dude. Not gonna lie. Live Alive is better than God of War 3 and Lord of the Rings Lego, though. Is Live Alive better than Sword of the Sea? Yes. Is Live Alive better than Like a Dragon? Fuck. Maybe. Live Alive's pretty good, man. The music's great, the combat's great, the story's great. I can't fault it on anything. I can't fault it on anything. It's really hard to... That's like... It's like... I think Live Alive actually, like... I think apart from the learning curve of the game... It's probably nearly a 10 out of 10, actually. I don't think there's anything really wrong with it. The missables are a pain. Yeah, it might stay there. I think because it's not as straightforward. There's nothing wrong with like it not being straightforward, but like it doesn't help either. The learning curve's pretty crazy on the game too. Shit. Maybe. I think Nier Automata is better than Ghost of Yotai. Yakuza Like a Dragon is not better than Yotai, though. Alright, is Lord of the Rings Conquest better than God of War 3? Yes, it's better than Lego Lord of the Rings. Is it better than Sword of the Sea? No. Shiv 2 is not better than God of War 3. Psychonauts 3 is better than Shiv 2. Is Psychonauts better than God of War 3? Yes. Is it better than Lord of the Rings Lego? No. No, I wouldn't think so. No, it's not. It's not. Alright, Bioshock Infinite. Is it better than Shiv 2? Yes, it's better than God of War 3. It's better than Psychonauts. It's better than Lego Lord of the Rings. It's better than Conquest. I don't think it's better than Sword of the Sea. It's close, though. Maybe. Maybe not. We'll let it go. Is Simpsons Game better than Shiv 2? No. No, I don't think so. That might be one of the first no's for a while. Is Rebirth better than Simpsons Game? Yes. Is it better than Shiv 2? Yes. God of War 3? Yes. Psychonauts 2? Yes. Lord of the Rings Lego? Yes. Conquest? Yes. Bioshock Infinite? Yes. Sword of the Sea? It's better than Live Alive. Is it better than Like a Dragon? I haven't finished this game yet, by the way. But it's good enough to probably beat Final Fantasy 15. That's why it's very significant. Yes, I think it is. And I think it's better than Yotai as well. It's better than Nier Automata. It's maybe not better than AC2. It's close, though. It's fucking close. It is close. I'm thinking about it. I'd actually put Rebirth right below Shadow of Mordor, funny enough. It's pretty fucking good. I can't fault it. Rebirth is like the perfect game. I haven't gone back to it because I just haven't had the time, and it's like 200 hours to beat the game. People, yeah, people who think Rebirth isn't that good haven't played Rebirth. That's all I'll say. Rebirth is seriously probably one of the best games ever made. Hey, Rocky. How's it going? Like, I would say, like, if I just did, like, the top 3 on this list, like, top 5, like, greatest ever games, like, if people wanted, like, an actual, like, what I would actually think rather than my personal opinion, it would go Persona 5, probably Astrobot, Metaphor, Rebirth, and then probably, I don't know, actually, what the 5th would be. Never mind, then. How you doing, Rocky? That was League of Legends. Is Rebirth better than Kingdom Hearts 3 is a crazy thing, though, to say. I think it's better than AC2. And it's just better than Astrobot. But I can't put it past Kingdom Hearts 3. It's close, though. It's fucking close. There's a lot of sad songs today. Yeah, shit. I think like, Rebirth's amazing. I need to go back to it, man. I know Madden was playing it at the moment too. I think they've got like nearly 1,000 hours on it now. What are we up to? Naruto Ninja Storm. It is better than the Simpsons game. It's better than Shiv 2. It's not better than God of War. It's close though. But objectively, no. I think Psychonauts 2 and God of War are better than Lord of the Rings Lego. Overwatch is better than the Simpsons game and Shiv 2. It's better than Naruto Ninja Storm. It's maybe not better than Lord of the Rings Lego. That's close though. I think Lord of the Rings Lego is going to be pretty hard to beat because I played that game so much when I was younger. It's not funny. Overwatch is probably the best multiplayer game I've ever played, though. I would say, hands down. Black Ops 3 would be the other one that's close. I'll let it go. All right. FIFA 20. Oh, this game's going to go pretty hard, I think. This is probably one of my favorite times in gaming ever, and it's probably got me back into gaming, to be fair. Thank you, Shah. Thank you for coming in. I think FIFA 20 is pretty high, man. I'm not going to lie. I love FIFA a lot. It's better than the Simpsons game. It's better than Shiv 2. Better than Naruto Ninja Storm. It is better than Overwatch. Better than Lord of the Rings Lego. It's better than God of War 3. Better than Psychonauts 2. Better than Lord of the Rings Conquest. Better than Bioshock. Bioshock was actually the first game I beat after FIFA 20, funny enough. Was done. I have high regard for Sword of the Sea, so I don't know if I could actually... I don't think it's better than Sword of the Sea. It's close, though. Yeah, I think it sits there. I was thinking about it. What's that? That's number 15 of all time. Fall Guys. I think Fall Guys is better than Shiv 2. It's not better than Naruto Ninja Storm, though. Ghost of Tsushima. is better than The Simpsons game, better than Shift 2, bigger than Fall Guys. It's better than Naruto Ninja Storm, better than Overwatch. Probably not better than Lord of the Rings Lego. The latest experience I had with John, Rye, Mind, Rock in the multiplayer has definitely pushed it a little bit though. And I should push it a little higher. That's probably one of the best experiences I've had is like getting those raids done. So it actually probably deserves a little bit more respect, and I actually probably will put it a bit higher. I don't know if it's better than God of War 3 though. God of War 3 is amazing. I have a lot of respect for Tsushima though. Yeah, I don't think it's better than Psychonauts 2. Psychonauts 2 is amazing. It's an incredible game. Persona 3 is better than The Simpsons game, better than Shiv 2, better than Fall Guys, better than Naruto Ninja Storm, better than Overwatch, better than Lord of the Rings Lego, is better than Ghost of Tsushima, is better than God of War 3, is better than Psychonauts 2. It's close with Lord of the Rings Conquest, and I just... Lord of the Rings Conquest is a great game. Better than Bioshock Infinite. Better than FIFA 20. Probably not better than Sword of the Sea. Probably not better than Sword of the Sea. Sword of the Sea is pretty incredible. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it is. I think Sword of the Sea is a very good game, dude. I actually kind of regret beating it in one day, but don't at the same time because we beat the game 4 times. Okay, we're up to Kingdom Hearts 2, which is better than Simpsons game, better than Shiv 2, better than Fall Guys, better than Naruto Ninja Storm, better than Overwatch, better than Lord of the Rings Lego. Is better than Ghost of Tsushima. Is better than God of War 3. Is better than Psychonauts 2, is better than Lord of the Rings Conquest, is better than Bioshock Infinite, and better than FF20. It is not better than Persona 3, though. It's close, but it is not better than Persona 3 Reload, in my opinion. It's very close, though. Black Ops 3 is better than Simpsons game, better than Shiv 2, better than Fall Guys, better than Naruto Ninja Storm. Is better than Overwatch. Isn't better than Lord of the Rings. Yeah. It's not better than Tsushima, though. Okay. Helldivers 2. Oh no, we're up to Jurassic World Evolution. Okay. Jurassic World Evolution is better than Simpsons game. Is better than Shiv 2. Is better than Fall Guys. Is better than Naruto Ninja Storm. Is better than Overwatch. Isn't better than Lord of the Rings Lego. It's close though. It is close. Okay. Helldivers 2 is better than The Simpsons game. Is better than Shiv 2. Or probably isn't better than Fall Guys, actually. It's close, though. I think we had more fun on Fall Guys, to be honest, than Helldivers 2. Okay, Dragon Ball Z Burst Limit actually may stay in the same spot. I don't think it's better than the Simpsons game. I know you guys can't really see it. No, it probably is better than the Simpsons game. Is it better than Shiv 2? It is. I don't think it's better than Helldivers 2, but it's close. The biggest thing about Burst Limit is I played it by myself. Is where it holds up. It's not better than Naruto Ninja Storm, but it's close. Alright, Shadow of War is better than The Simpsons game, is better than Shift 2, is better than Burst Limit, better than Helldivers 2, better than Fall Guys, better than Naruto Ninja Storm, better than Overwatch, better than Jurassic World Evolution, better than Lord of the Rings Lego, better than Black Ops 3, is better than Ghost of Tsushima, is better than God of War 3, is better than Psychonauts 2, is better than Conquest, better than Infinite, is better than FIFA 20, is better than Kingdom Hearts 2, in my opinion. But I don't think I can push it any higher than that. I don't think it's better than Persona 3. It's close, though. I do like Shadow of War a lot, though. I love that game. But it is a bit of a slog by the end of it. I did want a longer game, and I played the fuck out of it, and I watched every single video of it up to its release. Even, like, beta testing, they did, like, 5 or 10 years prior. So, yeah, we'll let it go. Astro's Playroom is better than Sims Game, better than Shift 2, better than Burst Limit, better than Helldivers 2. This is the demo, by the way. I don't know if anyone's ever played this game, so you can even really consider it an actual game, but I do, because it's amazing. Better than Fall Guys, better than Storm, better than Overwatch, better than Jurassic World. It's pretty high up. I think it's probably... It's what kicked off the generation for me. I don't think it's better than Kingdom Hearts 2, and that's where it stops, I think. Journey is better than The Simpsons game, better than Shift 2, better than Burst Limit, better than Helldivers, better than Fall Guys. Isn't probably better than Naruto Ninja Storm. Destiny 2 is better than The Simpsons game, better than Shift 2, better than Burst Limit. Is better than Helldivers 2, but it's close. Better than Fall Guys, better than Journey. Better than Naruto Ninja Storm, and isn't as good as Overwatch, so that's where it stops. Apex is better than The Simpsons, better than Shift 2, better than Burst Limit. Isn't better than Helldivers 2. I think that's where it would, yeah. I think that's fair. Then I have Xenoverse. Is better than The Simpsons game. Is better than Shift 2. Is it better than Burst Limit? Yes, I think so. I think it's close, though. I've got 400 hours in Xenoverse, by the way, if anyone is ever wondering that. I played so much of that game. And I think I've got like 200 hours offline, too. It's not better than Apex, though. It's close. Topspin's better than The Simpsons game. It's better than Shift 2, but that's it. I don't think it's as good as Burst Limit, so it'll sit there. FF10. The absolute disrespect to start this late, but, you know, whatever. Is it better than The Simpsons game? Yes. It's better than Shift 2, better than Topspin 4, better than Burst Limit, better than Xenoverse. Better than Apex, better than Helldivers 2, better than Fall Guys, better than Journey. Is better than Ninja Storm, is better than Destiny, is better than Overwatch. Is it better than Evolution? No. No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Alright, FF16! Is it better than Simpsons game? It is better than Shift 2. It is better than Topspin. It is better than Burst Limit. Is better than Xenoverse. Is better than Apex. Better than Helldivers. Better than Fall Guys. Better than Journey. Better than Ninja Storm. Is better than Destiny 2. Is better than Overwatch. Is better than 10. Which is a hot take. Is better than Jurassic World Evolution. Is better than Lord of the Rings Lego. Is better than Black Ops 3. Is better than Tsushima. Is better than God of War 3. I don't know if it's better than Psychonauts 2. Psychonauts 2 is pretty fucking good. I actually probably should put a bit more respect on its name, to be fair. I have a high regard for Bioshock Infinite. That's why it's pretty high up there. Maybe. Yeah, I know it's a bit disrespectful to 10, and I know a lot of people really like 10, but 10 is not 10 is not done well for me. With time added on and the other games I've played year after it, the Platinum didn't ruin it either, in my opinion. I think the Platinum actually added to it. I actually probably would have been harsher with my rating if I hadn't Platinumed it, funny enough. God of War 2, Simpsons game, is better than that. Better than Shiv 2, better than Topspin 4. Probably isn't better than Burst Limit, actually. I don't think it's better than Burst Limit, so that's just where it stops. Planet Coaster is better than Simpsons game, better than Shiv 2, better than Topspin 4, is better than God of War 2, is better than Burst Limit, better than Xenoverse, better than Apex, better than Helldivers 2, better than Fall Guys, better than Journey, better than Ninja Storm, better than Destiny 2, is better than Overwatch. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's better than 10 and Jurassic World Evolution. It's probably not better than Lord of the Rings Lego. I don't know if the top 25 will move now. I think we'll leave that there. American Arcadia is better than the Simpsons game, better than Shiv 2, better than Topspin 4, is better than God of War 2, better than Burst Limit, better than Xenoverse, better than Apex, better than Helldivers 2, better than Fall Guys, better than Journey, better than Naruto Ninja Storm, is better than Destiny 2, is better than Overwatch, isn't as good as FF10. I'll stand on business there. Mello is better than the Simpsons game, is better than Shiv 2, is better than Topspin 4, is better than God of War 2, is better than Burst Limit, is better than Xenoverse, maybe. Better than Apex, better than Helldivers 2, is better than Fall Guys, is better than Journey. Probably one of my favorite multiplayer experiences ever, to be honest with you. I think it's better than American Arcadia. Is better than Final Fantasy X. Is it better than Jurassic World Evolution? Probably not. Probably not. All right, we have 5 to go, so I'm going to try to find 5 games that I've played over heaps of generations that I've just forgotten about, because it just happens. Like, I've done a top 100 before, actually, and, like, there's, like, 40 games on there I just can't even remember playing. Like, DS games and stuff like that. There's nothing from my old original 25 list that isn't currently there, apart from Brotherhood. Brotherhood is very good, but it's not incredible. Party Animals is amazing, but yeah. Hey Jed, how's it going, fam? Hope you're doing well. God of War 2018. Doing good, how are you? I'm not too bad, fam. Just vibing, or trying to. Just doing my top 50 of all time. It's my yearly update for it. Yeah, shit. I don't know. Any racing games, I guess. I don't think any racing games really stand out, but I played a shitload of them. I played like Gran Turismo. You obviously got Mario Kart, all of those. I've played hundreds of hours of all them. Sonic All-Stars is fantastic as well. Skate 3 would nearly get in there, but I actually don't think it holds up as well as people say. replaying it actually might have ruined my reputation for it or my thought process on it. Dispatch is probably pretty up there. BO3, my beloved. Bro, Black Ops 3 is a great game, dude. I've got so many hours on that game. It's just so good. Just trying to think, man. It's hard to know. I'm gonna go back to my old account. I don't think there's anything from the PS3 era that really stands out. There's a few sports games I used to play when I was younger, but like, they don't hold up very well today at all. Like, at all. It's amazing how many sport games just don't hold up anymore. I think Top Spin 4 might be, which is in there, is one of the only ones that really holds up that's old enough. I think that released in like 2012, I think. Might have been 09, actually. It was a long time ago now. Fuck, I don't know. I'm serious. So many people are going to be salty about Sekiro, dude. So many people are going to be salty about Sekiro. Actually going to do Lego Harry Potter, which is a bit of a random one. But this shit, I played so much of this, it's not funny. I've actually been holding off on playing it for a long time because it's something I want to do when I'm feeling a bit down. So I do have a copy of it for the PS5. I have the PS5 and the PS4 copy of it, I think. So we'll get to them eventually, but it's just something I want to like just sit there for a little bit longer until I feel like playing it. I think Rift Apart would be close. Ratchet and Clank. I didn't really love the game though. God of War 2018 is a little bit, but like it's in a bad time of my life, so I don't really want to put it in there. I actually platinumed it when I broke up with my ex, I think. And I just degened and stayed inside and platinumed it. Spider-Man would be close, but that game's probably one of the smoothest games on PS4 ever, but is like, I don't think it's aged as well as people maybe think, maybe sometimes. I don't know, people love that shit though. Cool, but I love that game. Dude, it's such a good game, dude. I played it on every version. It's such a good game. Yeah. Dragon Quest Builders 2, I'll put in here as well. And I'm gonna go Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Because that is just a great fucking game, dude. I don't know if anyone ever played that. Oh, it just crashed on me. No! Oh my god, there's no... Oh no. Oh, okay. Dude, my Oprah just crashed. That scared the shit out of me just then. Oh my god, I would have been so upset to redo all of that, dude. Holy fuck. I've been here for an hour, haven't I? An hour and a half I've been here for fuck's sakes. Oh my god, that scared me, dude. What did I do? Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. And then we'll do... Was it Dragon Quest Builders 2 is probably a fair pull. And then I'll probably go Wii Sports, funny enough. I'm trying to pull in some games out that, like, I played a lot when I was younger. That I'm trying to think of. Okay, time to speedrun the... Imagine, dude, I would have cried, actually. Like, full on. I'm trying to think of the 50th one. I'm actually going to reorganize it still with the last 5, but... Trying to think of, like, old games that I played a shitload of when I was younger. Again, a lot of sports games and a lot of games don't hold up anymore. Even the old Lego games don't hold up anymore, sadly, with, like... I don't know if anyone played any of the ports. They did not hold up very well at all. They look like shit, which sucks. You know, I actually kind of want to put a game in that's like such a fucking random one, but I was thinking about League of Legends. I played a shitload of that on the PC. I played like 400 hours of that game, and I find it really relaxing to play. But I feel like it's such a dirty one to add. It's such a dirty one to add, isn't it? I'm trying to think of like what else I played like with my cousins and stuff. Like Dying Light was great. That was a great game. Hey Minx, you doing, fam? Kool-Aid's in Fall Guys, bro. Fall Guys is great. Seeing that game just ruined my day. I'm actually thinking about doing Kingdom 2 Crowns. That game helped me in a really hard part of last year. That was a good game. I wish I managed to finish it. You should get back to it, Minx. It's really easy to jump in and out of. I go back to it every 6 months, funny enough. I beat the DLC the other month. I don't know if I said that or not. Like 2 months ago, I beat the DLC. It was good. It was different. That game gave me trauma. I was happy to play that game and did close beta. I had a sign in a day and I hated it. Dude, it's so good. Yeah, pretty cool. The gave some pretty cool abilities. The DLC was really good, actually. I was pretty impressed. Fuck, I'm trying to think of like a 50th one there. I'm thinking about putting it in there, but I just don't... I had such a bad time with the Platinum. I don't know if I want to put it in there. That's the only problem. I'm trying to think of like... Put Tiny Tower in there or Clash of Clans. Just for shits and giggles, I'm going to put Clash Royale in there, because that is a great fucking game, actually. Let's put Clash Royale in there. Because what a fucking game. Let's leave that at 50th. Alright, is Wii Sports... No, let's actually start. Is Dragon Quest Builders better than Lego Harry Potter? Yes. Wait, no. Yes. It's better than Simpsons Game? Yes. It's better than Shift 2? Yes. Better than Topspin? Yes. It's not better than God of War 2. Harry Potter Lego isn't better than Lego Lord of the Rings. That's done. Mario Olympics is not better than the Simpsons Game. Wii Sports is going to go pretty high, I think. I'm not going to lie. probably stops there, actually. All right, we're good. Love that game because you were the person grabbing me every game. All right. So I'll turn the camera off and I'll explain what's going on because obviously you guys can only see. This is my top 50 of all time. I update this every year. This is my 4th year doing it. It's changed quite significantly over the past year. That's because I think I beat, since May last year, I've beaten 100 games, I think minimum. I think probably a little more. I've played probably 150 games or so. I've beaten a lot this year. In the past 12 months. I haven't even hit my 12 months yet, but I play like 80 games on my new account, and that started in May. So my opinions have changed a lot, and obviously, like, you know, gone up a little bit. So we'll go over it again. Persona 5 is the greatest game that's ever been made. Like, hands down, is the greatest game of all time. Without, like, a shadow of a doubt. But Final Fantasy 15 is my favorite game of all time. And that is why it's there. Ni no Kuni 2 is third. I love this game. It grows on me with every year. I've beaten it 3 times, I think, now. It's toe-to-toe with Metaphor, which is obviously a new game that I played last year at the end of the year with Spicy. I love this game a bit too much. Metaphor is amazing. I think Ni no Kuni 2 maybe beats it out for its art style. The art style is a little bit better. That's why I've chosen in the end. Shadow of Mordor, I beat Metaphor twice and platinumed it. Shadow of Mordor, I've platinumed 4 times. I think 5 times, actually. And I've got like 600 hours on, I think, including PC. Kingdom Hearts 3 is incredible. And just sums up like the whole series so well. And there's a lot of reminiscence, so that's why it is currently 6. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is number 7. This game's great. I actually haven't beaten Rebirth, but I am over halfway through the game. But it is probably... Oh. Thank you so much for the gifted sub, Minx. You didn't need to do that to Cole Penner, cheeky. I appreciate that, Minx. You don't have to do that, please. Don't do that. It was your birthday the other day. Should be the other way around. Thank you so much, fam. I really appreciate that a lot. Rebirth's amazing, though. If you haven't played Rebirth and you don't think it's that good, play Rebirth. I don't even care if you don't play Remake, which is a terrible thing to say, but I don't care. Rebirth, I don't actually like Remake. That's why it's not in the top 50. I think Remake... Yeah, I don't want to be too harsh on Remake, but I think it's got some of the worst pacing in any game I've played, which is a terrible thing to say. But if it was like maybe 10 hours shorter, it would be on here for sure. Happy to see you streaming. I appreciate you, fam. Thank you. Thank you so much. But again, you don't have to. No gifted subs. But yeah, it's pretty up there. When I beat the game, I would say Rebirth has got the same feeling. I've only ever had one other feeling, maybe 2 other times I felt something when I'm playing a game, and I would say Persona 5 and 15. But I would say Final Fantasy 15 gives me that feeling that Rebirth gives me, and that's why Rebirth is probably good enough to be my favorite game of all time, and that's why it's there, basically. That's like half of a KFC chips. Dude, KFC chips are so expensive, things. Why the fuck are they so expensive, man? Astrobot. Still don't think this game gets that much respect. If it came to PC, I feel like it would fly, but what a game. Assassin's Creed 2 is incredible. It's like my first like sort of open world type game, which isn't really open world at all, but it's amazing. And just, yeah, it started it all. It's actually the first game I ever beat, funny enough. So it lives rent free in my head. In this economy, it gets fucking worse for real. For real. Well, I hope that doesn't go up. I'll cry. Nier Automata. I beat this last year. This is redeemed by Sarah. It is an incredible game. And the story is amazing. I cried like a little bitch on stream. No one saw, thankfully. Because I think I was wearing a hoodie at the time, which was good. Ghost of Yotai. I just beat this game today. Funny enough, I just platinumed it. It is the 3rd best game I've played on PS5, I think, so far in this generation. It is pretty crazily good. I think it might drop next year in the rankings, but I think it's pretty fucking good. And the story's amazing, and the platinum was fantastic, and the art style is incredible. The game looks crazy. I want to play it on the PS5 Pro. I respect the decisions. I was going to say Ghost is up already. Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima, yeah. Tsushima was... I think Yotai is better. Like a Dragon, I did with Spicy as well, just a few months ago now. That game's amazing. I think I might enjoy Infinite Wealth more, and that's why I don't have it as high, but I don't think it's better than Yotai. Live Alive is a game that was redeemed by email. That game was incredible. I think there's nothing wrong with Live Alive. I think it's a 10 out of 10 game. I think the only thing holding it back is just the learning curve and the missables in the game. It's very easy to fuck up and not be able to beat the game properly, which sucks, in my opinion, at times when games do that. I'd be very, very careful. So Sword of the Sea came out last year as well. I did this one in January in my 24-hour. It's just everything I want in a game to relax. I think it's one of the most beautiful games I've ever played, and it's got to be there. Persona 3 is up there, Reload. I think Persona 3 Reload is amazing. I don't know what's missing from it. I need to play it again, but something is missing, and I just don't know what it is. And that's why it's not higher. Otherwise, it would be. I do have a lot of respect for it. I think a lot of people then rip me to shreds for not having it higher, but then say just play the original. But yeah, it's quick played it a bit. It's a great game, yeah. It's not very long. Shadow of War is amazing. I don't talk about this game very often. Why? I think maybe I do talk about it more than I would like. I actually... probably one of my most excited 4 games of all time, probably with 16. I watched all of the beta testing, and I watched all of the art development of this game for 5 years while it was being made. They uploaded every week to YouTube. I had 200 views a day, and I was watching it every single time in my classes, and would watch all of them over and over and over again in all my classes until it dropped, and then I beat the game in a day. I annihilated it. I stayed up for 24 hours and skipped school for it, so I think it was great. Kingdom Hearts 2 is amazing. I think if I beat it again next time, I'll platinum it. I think it might go higher, but it's a very good game. Astro's Playroom is the first game I beat on the PS5, and my first PS5 platinum. It's just a great fucking game. There's nothing wrong with it. FIFA 20, I don't need to explain FIFA, because FIFA's just... People don't like FIFA. I love FIFA. That's why it's there. BioShock Infinite is number 20. It's just a great game. If you haven't played this game and you don't know the ending to the game, please play the fucking game. Or get someone to play it for you so you can watch. Or go watch someone play it, because the story is incredible. The gameplay is amazing. A lot of people really shit on this game now. That's mainly because a lot of people are just salty about it because they want BioShock 2 to be there, get more respect, or BioShock 1 doesn't get as much respect because of Infinite. And people try to poke as many holes as they possibly can into it, which is weird, but that's just how people are. Lord of the Rings Conquest is number 21. It is literally is Star Wars Battlefront, but with Lord of the Rings, and it's fucking incredible. And you get to play on Mordor's side, and it is incredible, and I love every second of it, so that's why it's there. I've been hunting this game for a while too. It is one of my lists when I play as classic, and yeah, people seem to shit on it for some reason. Yeah, they tend to quite heavily. I'm not quite sure why. People are quite harsh. I don't know why. It's even a few people that I've talked to that used to like it haven't in the past few years, because a few people have changed their opinions. But Psychonauts 2 is probably one of the best platformers I've ever played of all time. That's why it's there. It is really, really, really good. And hilarious. If you haven't played any of the Psychonauts games, I would recommend them. They are stupidly funny. It's like watching an old school cartoon show. It's just hilarious and very crude, which is great. 16, probably one of the most disrespected games on this entire list. The story of Final Fantasy 16 is fucking incredible, and you feel like you're watching a movie the entire time you play the game. Great game. A lot harder than most people would think as well. Most people just put the cheats on, but anyway. God of War 3 is just aura, because God of War is beautiful, and Kratos is amazing as well, so that's why it's there. Ghost of Tsushima is probably one of the best PS4 games I've ever played. it's even higher, pushed up there because of the multiplayer I did recently with Rye and his community, which was incredible and a lot of fun and chaotic. So Black Ops 3, I've got like, I think I've got like 2,000 or 3,000 hours in this game. The count is not accurate on PlayStation, and then not even counting my PC hours. So Lord of the Rings Lego is just the GOAT. I don't know what else to say, really. It's just a great game. Just play it. It's the first ever voice acted Lego game ever. I don't know if anyone knows that or not, and actually changed the way they did Lego games forever after it came out. Is great. Black Ops is surprising. I played so much Black Ops, Minx, it's not funny. So much. It's not even funny. So much. I played so much of it. Hello, Badger. How's it going? Back on BO3 for the plat? No. I don't want to do that to Rye. That shit will be so much anger. I could feel that. That's going to be so much screaming. Like, Planet Coaster. If anyone hasn't played this, it's just it's a theme park sim. It is amazing and addictive as fuck, and you lose your time in it, and it's beautiful. It's really, really good. Jurassic World Evolution's the same. Really, really good sim. It's literally dinosaurs, but you get to fuck around, and simulate with them. Mellow was like a tabletop multiplayer game that was redeemed by Hexa this year. Surprisingly, one of the best experiences I had last year in gaming, and probably forever. It was a RNG nightmare, but overall, it was so much fun playing with people, and such a different game. I've never played anything like it in my life. May never again, to be fair, as well. Final Fantasy X is at 31. I don't know if people are going to be pissed off on this. I don't know. With Final Fantasy X, I don't think it's that good. I think the story's a little bit weaker than people make it out to be. And I think nostalgia tends to distract people from how good the game actually is. I wouldn't say it's the best game of all time, and I wouldn't think it's the best Final Fantasy of all time. I could rip it to shreds if I wanted to. A lot of people will probably claim because I platinumed the game, it ruined it. I would actually say I have more respect and liked the game more because I platinumed it. So it's actually the opposite. And some of these games are like that. American Arcadia is fucking gorgeous, and it's a 10 out of 10 game. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just there. It's just at 32. There's nothing wrong with it. It's 10 out of 10. There's nothing wrong with American Arcadia. I just can't, put it any higher. Overwatch, I sunk too many hours in it to not be there, so it's just there. Destiny 2 is the same. I played it from release and played stupid amount of hours Destiny 2 on PC and PlayStation, so it's got to sit there. Naruto Ninja Storm was the third game I ever beat, and I actually 100%ed it. It was the first game I ever 100%ed, and there was no platinum for it on the PS3, so I never got the platinum for it originally, but it's probably where I begun my platinum journey. Glad you got me. Okay, it was cool. It's such a good game. Journey is just aura, and it's beautiful. It's the people who made Journey actually made Sword of the Sea and helped, and it was Sword of the Sea is just Journey on crack basically, which is great. Fall Guys is just great. One of those COVID games that has to be in there, so it's just there. Helldivers 2 was an incredible experience last year, and I can't not give it its respect because it's just such an interesting idea, and the way they did it all was amazing, and I hope they end up doing more, to be honest. Apex, I played way too much of it. I probably played like 800 hours of Apex, I think, probably a little bit more. But it used to be my distressor game. I used to play it in the morning before I go to work, come home and drink some beers and play it as well, so it's just too good not to put in there. Dragon Ball Xenoverse, I've played like 600 hours of, I think. I used to play this in local multiplayer with my cousin non-stop. We used to beat the shit out of each other on it. Sadly, we never got to play Dragon Ball FighterZ when we should have, because he really likes fighting games, and it was really good. But I've never platinumed that game either, because the RNG sucks. Dragon Ball Z Burst Limit, there you go, was actually the first game I ever beat, I'm pretty sure off the top of my head. It might have been my first or second. It's like one of the best fighting games I've ever played, and I actually 100%ed it as well, funny enough. So it might have been my second after Naruto Ninja Storm, funny enough. God of War 2 is just a great game. I don't really have any issues with it. The platinum can suck my dick, though, but I had a lot of fun racing with racing against squiggles. It was my favorite God of War, but God of War 3 I think is a bit better after playing it a second time. Dragon Quest Builders 2 is just a great game. It's just Minecraft with extra steps, which is great, to be honest. It's probably what I would want from Minecraft, and that's why Dragon Quest Builders 2 is just better. Wii Sports is... Well, it's fucking Wii Sports. I remember the day that my parents just got divorced, and a few months in, my dad bought a Wii, and all we had was Wii Sports on it. And we played Wii Sports every weekend for like probably like 4 years with my dad, non-stop, and we just played it every weekend. It's sort of the only time where dad was not too tired to actually play, because he did a lot of night shift. He was a factory worker most of my childhood, so we would play a shitload of this whenever he got time. Sometimes I'd be laying in bed and like he would come home really late, and he would wake me up and say, "Did you want to play some Wii Sports?" So I would go out and play with him and stuff like that, and that's probably a core memory, and that's why it's there. Topspin 4 is just a great game, probably the best sports game I've ever played. And I played a shitload of tennis because of Topspin 4, so that's why it's there. Shiv 2 is just a great fucking game. I don't know what else to say. Great platinum too. The Simpsons game I've played on every single platform ever. I've played it on the DS, PSP, PS2, Xbox 360. That's everything. DS, and there was one other. There's another platform it's on. I played it on every platform. Beat them on all platforms. Such a great fucking game. Stupid, funny, and just easy. Harry Potter Lego is just great. I don't know. It's just a great Lego game. I love Harry Potter. Not many people do. It's obviously gone a bit out of fashion at this point, but it is just a great game. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. I reckon this was the third game my dad bought on the Wii. I played this on the Wii with my dad as well. I reckon it's the third game we ever got. And it was the same thing. I just played every weekend with my dad. Every weekend for fucking months. Just for months. We actually rented it. We rented it every week for like 3 or 4 months, and dad was like, fuck it, we're just going to go buy it. And we bought it just full price, and it was just like, dad never bought anything full price, and he was like, fuck it, we'll just grab it. And I'm like, all right. But yeah, I played a lot of it. It's a great game. Clash Royale is the final one. I probably played well and truly over 1,000 hours of Clash Royale. I'm not gonna lie. I used to play it on my phone at work when I was stressed. It's a great game. Yeah, it's top 50. Also weird, I don't feel I've managed any classics still. What do you mean, like, manage many classics? As in, you haven't played a lot of classics? I did this list. You'd be surprised how quickly you'd fill it up. I played the Simpsons game on PSP. Yeah, the PSP version was great. What a game, dude. Does anybody have any quarrels with the list, by the way? In my mind, yeah. I played a lot of classics, but I just find actually a lot of classics aren't that good as people make them out to be. And nostalgia seems to hit a lot of people very hard, very quickly. So I'll screenshot this and put it in my Discord. Beautiful. Higher res version. It came out weird last time I did that. Is it going to look weird? It's not too bad. Why would I have quarrels? It's your list. Well, that's the idea. Oh, good. Besides Fall Guys, I'm shooting that one. Yeah, I think Fall Guys, people lost their shit over Fall Guys. I'll put it in there. I don't get people who are like, how dare you put that there? Just make your own list. I've been reputing mine together while you've been doing this, lol. It's good to re-update them. It's going to get hard really quick. I wouldn't mind like doing like another one where like I actually like say properly like what is like the best games of all time. Like actual like proper. And I would, yeah, my list would be completely different instead of like saying what my favorite are. Screenshot will do. It's okay. It's okay. I'll just let it go. But yeah, I just thought I'd do that real quick. For the yearly. For the yearly. For breakfast in bed. Cool. Been repeating mine. I start 144 since that's my list max, and then in a limit star 175, 50, 25, 10, and then the last 5 in order. I respect it. I feel like I can't put stuff on I haven't finished, even if I loved it or watch others play. So I actually put... What have I got in here? I've got... So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's the only game in here I haven't beaten. Funny enough. But I have like high regard for it. That's why it's so high. But it is not top 5 because I haven't finished it yet. But purchasing your first face makes my day better. Just makes you look more beautiful. That's what it is, Jed. Okay, I better get to the gym. Wanted to decide to play today, by the way. I saw when I woke up. Oh, that's good. I wanted to do something later. You're all good. You just go do your thing. Go do your thing. Finish the story or platinum? I've platinumed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I'll count 100% as well, actually. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. I've platinumed 42 of the 50 and beaten everything except for... So I've finished 40... I've platinumed 42 of the 50 and beaten 49 of the 50. The main ones I haven't platinumed are the multiplayer ones that are unobtainable. Because some I've finished through, like Darkwood. I mean, if you still wanted to put your Darkwood in there, it's fine. I haven't done that much. Yeah. Funny enough, half these games I've actually beat, like, over half these games were done before streaming as well. That's the biggest one. Finish games is weird. I don't blame you. I struggle to finish games. I struggle to go back and finish games. I have so many games I need to go back to. That's why I've got the wheel going again. Ghost of Yotai was a real surprise, though. It is a really fucking good game. What is it? It is 5 to 4 o'clock. Okay, what did that take? 2 hours? 2 hours to do that, dude. Jesus fucking Christ, man. I need help. Why am I like this? So, I spun the wheel today. I'll pull that up and explain it one more time as well. I get scared of long games. I finally got Death Stranding for stream, and 40 hours seems too long. Death Stranding? Oh my god, dude. That's such a long game. Did you buy that? Did that get redeemed, did it? I actually need to redo this. I just realized. Good luck on the Black Fam, and good luck traveling. So, I haven't explained this properly yet, but we actually ended up changing my way of doing things on stream. Basically, half the games on here are redeemed and half of them are my backlog. And then it's on a big wheel. There's 20 items on here, but there's 6 that are like categories, such as Square Enix has got 4. Actually, it might be 8, is it? Yeah, it is. And then 2 are Atlas, and then 2 are platformers, because I've got so many platformers, so many Square Enix games, and so many Atlas games that it's just fucking unfair at this point. So I just made like a section for them instead. I think Square Enix, I've got like 30 Square Enix games or something stupid. I don't have a redeem at the moment. I haven't been for a while. I've been struggling to get through last of them. That's fair. It happens. It happens. I feel that. That reminds me, I need to remove some games from my redeem list I've finished. Yoritai isn't 60 hours, by the way. It was like 45, I think. 50. I took my time with it as well. But I feel that. But basically, yeah, it spins like that. So I spun today. I'm just going to spin it now. It's not actually... This doesn't count. And the first game that we spun was Black Myth Wukong. Oh, Nano Kuni. Was Black Myth Wukong. But... the thing about Black Myth is that Spicy wants to race me in it, and Spicy is extremely busy right now. So I'm just going to wait. I've basically downloaded the game to start whenever he feels like starting the game.